This exercise is called short foot, and it's primarily an exercise that's going to help you restore the dynamic tension in your body, which means the balance in the front and the back side of the body. For people with real balance issues, things like dizziness, motion sickness, pregnancy sickness, vertigo, jaw pain, this is a really good exercise. You'll be using your lower legs, but the beauty about it is that it's going to help you build the stability back in your body from your feet all the way up into your skull. It's also really good exercise for people with injuries in the lower legs, your ankles, your feet, things like plantar, shin splints, flat feet, a little bit like mine. So this exercise got lots of sort of different benefits, and we're using it primarily to redistribute our balance. So the first thing we're going to do in short foot is establish a stance that is hip distance. Now, a lot of people think this might be hip distance, or a lot of you with a narrow stance might stand a little bit like this. So first things we're going to do is establish a stance which is hip distance, and the best way to do that is get your fists and bring them together just in front of your groin or your thighs. And then if you look over your knuckles, basically you shouldn't be able to see your feet beyond the knuckles or behind your hands when you look sort of from a bird's eye view. And once you've established your hip distance stance, we're now going to stagger your stance. So what you're going to do is you are going to place your right foot just in front, still in that hip distance position, but just simply staggering the stance. And you're going to make sure that your right heel, I've got my right foot forwards here, the right heel is just in line with the left toe line. So if I was to bring my right foot over to the left, it kind of just brushes the front of the left toe. Once I've established my staggered stance in the short foot exercise, the first thing we're going to do is make sure that your pelvis isn't in a rotated or in a sort of adverse position. So we're going to make sure that we're nice and neutral. The best way to do that is if you put your hands just on the front two hip bones, you're going to make sure that they're pointing forwards like two car headlights. Once you've done that, you're going to just bend your knees softly without duck butting. So we're not pushing the pelvis back in extension. We're simply imagining we're sitting on a high stool by bending our knees. Now, if that feels uncomfortable in your knees or anywhere, then what I'd suggest is you just narrow the stance, you reduce the stagger in your stance. So for instance, if you start with your heel, the heel of the front foot just brushing the line of the left toe, then what I would suggest is just pull that slightly back, and that should reduce the amount of pressure in your knees. But that would be a really good indication that there is something inadvertent going on in your lower legs and in your lower body that doesn't allow you to hinge or sort of flex the knees in that position. Okay, so just bear that in mind. And then you're going to sit down into your legs, keep the chin nice and neutral. The center of your skull should feel like it's right above the center of your tailbone. And from here, we're going to just sort of bounce it out and feel like we're just really nice and comfortable here. Once you're in this position, you're going to bring your hands just to the side of your hip bones, like so. Fingers really nice and wide, and you're going to apply a little bit of pressure of your palms into the side of your hip bones. So what you're not doing is rounding the shoulders forwards, we're just pinning the shoulder blades back. Palms are pressing gently into the side of the waist, or the side of the hip bones rather, and we're splaying the fingers. That's really important because we're also going to get a little bit of an upper body release here. And you're not trying to sort of let the head hang forwards, really feel like the head is sitting over the tailbone. Now from here, just clip your shoulder blades back gently without flaring the ribs or tilting the breastbone up. Keep the chest and the ribs neutral, abdominals relaxed. And for your short foot drill, all you're doing is you're going to lift the toes of your front foot upwards, keeping the toe pad on the ground. And then you're going to push the toes back into the ground, and as you do that, you generate the force from the ground and squeeze your right butt cheek. So it's the use of ground reaction force. The push of the toes squeezes your right butt cheek. So for some people, you may have to put your right hand on your right butt cheek, You're back into your stance. Left hand can sit on the abdominals just to make sure they're not engaging. We're not engaging your pelvic floor muscles either. We're lifting the front toes and pushing them down as we squeeze this right butt cheek. You push down, you squeeze, release. You push down, you squeeze, and you release. You push down, you squeeze, you release. You push down, you squeeze, you release. So we're going to do 3 sets of 20 repetitions on each side. It's entirely up to you whether you switch sides after the first 20, so you could do 20 on the right, 20 on the left, and then switch again. Or you can finish your sort of 3 by 60 repetitions of 20 and then switch the other side. I'm not sure if I said the repetitions right. So you're doing 3 rounds of 20 repetitions. So that's 60 in total. You're doing 60 on the right side, 60 on the left side. I'm going to do the first 20 with you. So we're in that short foot stance, pelvis is neutral, head is above the tailbone. I'm sitting nice and easy in my legs. My right heel is in line with the front left toes and my stance is staggered in a hip distance position. And my belly's relaxed, my pelvic floor muscles are relaxed. My hands go onto the side of my hip bones, elbows clip back gently, chest is open but not lifted, not an extension, neutral chest, neutral rib cage. And then I'm going to lift my front toes, push them down, squeeze the right butt cheek. This is 2, 3, 4. The other thing you want to look out for is, do your shoulders get lazy? Mine tend to get lazy as soon as I use my feet. The other thing I'm really conscious of is I'm not grabbing my right toes. So you shouldn't see like this crease in the right toes. You're trying to use the pressure of the whole of the foot down into the ground as you lift and squeeze that right butt cheek. 5. Also, I've got to really pay attention to not clenching my pelvic floor muscles and my abdominals. This is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. And then I'm going to switch sides with my left foot forwards and repeat the same thing. Checking on my staggered stance, left heel just brushing the right toe line, feet are hip distance apart. I'm looking forwards, keeping my pelvis neutral, not in a rotated position. I sit down into my legs with my head over my tailbone. Notice I didn't duck butt. I'm not rib flaring. I'm just feeling like there's a drop down in my body weight into my feet. Okay, a little bit like a boxer stance. Then from here, hands go onto the side of the hip bones. I press gently. My fingers are really nice and wide. Elbows clip back. Chest is neutral. Rib cage neutral. Gaze is neutral. And here we go for the left side. 1, 2. Notice each side could be really different. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And that is your short foot exercise. This exercise, one of my personal favorites, but also one that really helps me put my body back into good function, is called inline glute squeezes. So think of yourself in this exercise treading a really sort of thin rope, or sort of like kind of inline rope walking, so to speak. But this exercise I'm going to give you in 2 progressional modifications. One is a starting sort of progression, and then the second is an advanced. This exercise, you're not going to need anything except just to stand, and it's going to help you restore balance between the, or dynamic tension rather, between the front of your body and the back. So imagine somebody kind of like is in a sway back position. Very good, this exercise for you. If someone's in a highly sort of flexed position with their shoulders or their upper body, also this exercise would highly suit you. The other thing this exercise is responsible for doing is restoring adequate pelvic stability by instigating the glutes, which are the king of your body's muscles, as well as external hip rotation muscles, all the muscles in this part of your hip, lower leg function and ankle function as well. And what that will help you do is stand sort of taller without compensation in your pelvis, either right to left. So anybody with a pelvic disparity, if you always find like you've got one hip hiked, this exercise is very good for you. If, like me, you've got one foot more pronated than the other, a bunion worse than the other, this exercise is probably really, really good for you too. So we're going to start with the entry-level sort of entry-level setup for inline glute squeezes. First thing you want to do is you start with your feet hip distance. Then from here, you are going to take a staggered stance by just stepping the right foot forwards. You can do left, of course, but I'm demonstrating the right side. The right foot goes forward only as far as your left toe line. So you'll see here, the right foot isn't too far in front of the left toe line here, and my feet stay hip distance. Then the one thing you want to try and do here is really make sure that your hip bones face forwards like car headlights, as well as your collarbones and your shoulders. So everything faces forwards. If you feel like you're a little bit rotated, you've got to fix that and learn how to use both sides of your body equally, even though one side is in flexion and one side is in extension. Then from here, what you're going to do is just relax the hands. I'll give you the option for the hands in just a moment. Then you're going to slightly turn your toes inwards to create a little bit of a sort of internal rotation in your legs. I'm going to do that facing forwards. So what I mean by turning the toes in is not spinning the knee out or the heel out. Okay, that's not what I just did. All I'm doing is just turning the toe inwards. Keeping that staggered stance, keeping my feet hip distance. Now what will happen for some of you, you might kind of sway into a lateral shift. Some of you might kind of feel like you need to pop the ribs forwards, pelvis drops, and all sorts of things start to happen. So once you've established that entry-level position, what you're actually trying to do in inline glute squeezes is slightly lean backwards to feel this back glute catch you, and you almost want to instigate like an off-balance type feeling in this exercise. Then from there, keep everything square, pelvis driven forwards, shoulders facing forwards, head is straight, gaze is eye level. Feel like you lean back, no grabbing of the toes, disengage your abdominals, and then just squeeze the glutes very gently. And you almost want to feel like you've got a nut right between your two butt cheeks, and you're gently just trying to sort of hide the nut instead of crack it. You've got a nut between your butt crack. That's basically what you're trying to instigate. And then you just squeeze and you release. You'll do 3 sets of 20 on that foot, on that leg, in that stance, and then you'll simply switch and stick to the same thing the other side. If you are going to try the advanced level setup and progression, what you're going to do is start with your feet hip distance, but you are simply going to bring the right heel right in front of your left second toe and big toe. So you're going to wrap over in your stance, so to speak. And you can see already how off balance this is kind of putting me, right? So for somebody with lower leg dysfunction, instability in my pelvis, this exercise is immediately putting the fire back in the right places. So I'm just going to sort of focus on a point on the floor just to get my balance. I'm going to start leaning very slightly backwards. My left calf is on fire already. Belly's relaxed. If I start to lose balance like this is a really good sign. So I'm just going to fight this for a little while. Goes to show how prioritized I've made inline glute squeezes in a while. Which also goes to show that I'm normal, I'm human, right? Nothing in this world is perfect, nor is my movement routine or my posture routine. There's never any harm in being reminded of what your dysfunctions are and constantly being reminded that you need to work on them. Pelvis is neutral. You can see here, if I put my 2 fingers on my hip bones, they are dead straight and facing forwards. My left leg's already on fire. Belly's relaxed. And I'm just gonna relax here. You can tell my leg's already fighting this, so I don't necessarily need to put an upper body sort of addition into this. If you want to, simply just, see how much more demand that puts in my legs, but just cup your fingers to the sides of your arms and try and feel like you're just holding yourself there. And then all I'm gonna try to do here is squeeze and release my glutes. I know which menu I'm going to prioritize for the rest of this week and next. These are what I believe one of the king of all exercises, inline glute squeezes. And make sure you do both sides. You can do 1 set, both sides, and then switch again, or you can do all 3 sets and then switch and do the other 3 sets on the other side, whatever suits you. This exercise is called standing elbow curls. So we're going to come into a standing position, and what this exercise is going to help you do is overall basically put your body back into the right balance by using the shoulder blades and re-educating the shoulder blades, and therefore pulling your shoulder girdle back into the right position. So a lot of people suffer with balance problems simply because they've got a shoulder girdle that doesn't do what it's supposed to do. And so by using this exercise, we're re-educating the shoulder blades to eventually come back and sit over the line of the pelvis, and therefore release all the compensatory patterns that may be occurring and causing your imbalances in the lower legs. So the grip is really, really important for this exercise. We're in what we call a modified golfer's grip. It's a very Egoscue orientated grip. It's got nothing to do with golf at all, in my opinion, but all you're doing is squeezing your fingertips into the base of the palm without folding your knuckles. So we're not folding the knuckles in a fist. We've got a nice open palm. We're simply pressing the fingertips into the base of the palm, and we're pulling the thumb away from the index finger. As soon as you do this, you should know that you're feeling, or you should feel rather, things in your forearms, up into the biceps, possibly even to the lats and the triceps. And then for standing elbow curls, you're going to bring the toes in to touch in a pigeon toe position. We're not turning in the knees like a pigeon, and we're not also causing any tension in the knees. We're simply standing in a hip distance position, turning the toes in so that our tips of the toes are touching and the heels are pointing outwards. The stance itself is basically re-educating your ankles and the soles of your feet to basically redevelop the strength in the arches, and that's going to activate your hips further up the chain as well. For standing elbow curls, you're going to bring the middle knuckle, or the middle joint, if you like, of the fingers, or the middle finger, to the side of your temples. You're going to relax your abdominals, keep the rib cage neutral. So for some of you, even just to bring the arms in this position, you might feel like you're doing something like this. If that's the case, I want you to really pay attention to feeling like you can draw the shoulder blades back, lift up from the lateral sort of muscles of the shoulders and the side of the body, and bring your elbows up in this position. Then from here, we're simply going to relax the abdominals, relax the pelvic floor muscles, and we're slightly going to take the elbows back as you inhale. As you exhale, I want you to feel like there's a rounding of the shoulder blades slightly as you clap your elbows together. And then inhale as you go back, and exhale as you come forwards. We're going to do 25 reps in this exercise. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. The other thing you want to really make sure you're doing is pulling the thumbs down and keeping the grip really, really nice and active. This exercise is called standing elbow curls. This exercise is called sitting floor twist, and as the title suggests, we are going to start in a seated position with your legs extended. This exercise is great for people who sit at desks for a very long time, have developed thoracic sort of tightness, rounding, kyphosis, whatever you want to call it. People who drive a lot, people who are hunched over. I've just had a baby, and honestly, being sort of hunched over to feed her, change her, pick her up, put her in the car seat, put her in the pram, this is all causing sort of my mid-back to feel like it's really sort of pulled forwards. And with the, you know, the filling up and the emptying of my breasts, it can honestly feel like I'm constantly rounded. And this exercise really, really helps me take out that sort of rounding in my mid-back. It also then helps me release the tension that I put inadvertently in my hips and my pelvis, and it puts my body back into the right balance. So for sitting floor twist, we're going to start with your feet in a hip distance position with your legs extended. Now, if this is hard for you, you may wedge a block or a cushion underneath your sit bones, and that will just allow your pelvis to sit a little bit more in an anterior position, allowing you to then extend your legs on the floor. For sitting floor twist, we're going to then bring your left leg in a fold or flexion, and place the left foot just outside the line of your right thigh. From here, I want you to cup the front of your left knee as you really feel like you are unraveling your spine and sitting really nice and tall. Just take a few breaths here. Inhale. Feel that pressure right into the ribs, and exhale. Try not to breathe from the chest or the shoulders. Good. And then from here, what you're going to do is you are going to hold the knee with your left hand as you reach your right arm up to the ceiling, to the outside of your right ear. Really feel like you're reaching up, 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 up. Keep the left foot grounded. Keep feeling like the left thigh is touching the front of the chest. And then gradually just start to rotate to the left side here. Rotate, 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 rotate. Bring the left outer arm or the elbow to the outside of your left thigh. Then from here, release the left palm, maybe about half a foot away from the left line of the butt cheek. Push the left palm down as you supinate this forearm. So look at my left forearm here. We're not staying in this fold. I want you to press down with the left palm into the floor, push the outer right arm into the left thigh, and feel like you're lifting the chest forwards in order to twist backwards. Flex the right ankle. Keep breathing here into the left rib cage and the right rib cage. You're going to hold for 1 to 2 minutes. And then release and do the other side. So same thing, you fold the right leg outside the left thigh. I like to cup the right knee with both my hands, lift the chest bone up, flex the left foot. There should be an elongation happening in the left leg as well. And then lift the left arm as you cup the right hand in front of the right knee. Give yourself the traction just to keep turning to the right side. Left outer arm comes over the right thigh. Each side is different. This side feels quite tight for me. Placing the right hand just about a foot away from the line of the right butt cheek. Don't pull down away from the right thigh. Pull into the right thigh. And then push that left hand for that twist. Keep supinating the right palm so that the right elbow, the inside of the elbow is turning to the right side. Breathe here. And release. Inhaling. And exhale. That is your sitting floor twist. This exercise is called standing heel bops. I love standing heel bops. I love anything to do with me having to use my lower legs, particularly my ankles. Largely that's where my dysfunctions come from, but this exercise for anybody will help you re-educate your ankles, your feet, your lower limbs on how to one, start shock absorbing, meaning you won't sort of land so heavy on your legs. But second, it will also remind your body how to be or how to use ground reaction force. And what that means is when your body is acting on the surface of the floor, there's an equal and opposite force coming back into your body to create a counterbalance. And if your body can't absorb that shock and basically handle that ground reaction force, it's going to create pain. It's going to create issues where you think things like hopping, walking, maybe high intensity without shoes is causing you problems, but actually it's just the lack of preparation in your body. So the goal of this exercise is to really activate the muscles from the foot up into the pelvis, and therefore stabilize the balance in your body, help you with strength and mobility overall. What you're doing in this exercise is simply standing with your feet hip distance, and you're just going to feel like your body is really nice and loose, really sort of loose. I'm not doing anything, I'm just kind of like just as if I'm sort of throwing my body like a rag doll. And then once you get the rhythm of this, all you're going to start doing is, without jumping, I'm not jumping off the ground, I'm simply bopping my heels up and down. So the forefoot stays into the ground and I'm just bopping. And if I was to make a noise through my mouth to show you how loose my body is, it would sound something like this. Okay, so I've got a gentle slap or a gentle tap, if you like, of the heels to the floor, and I'm simply just bopping my heels. And I'm going to do this for 2 minutes, and sure enough, you should start to really feel like your calves, your glutes, your hamstrings, everything just starts to really get fired up. And you're just going to stay here. Shoulders are really nice and relaxed. If you're breastfeeding like me, you might want to just add some protection over your quite full breasts and just keep bopping. Bop, 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 bop. Breathing in through the nose, letting it go. And then you just continue this for 2 minutes. And then what I like to do is just relax, close my eyes, and just take inventory of how my body feels just after that. That exercise is called standing heel bops.